And I hope you are doing well. So, this is another episode of Relaxed Riches where we're going to be talking about how do you integrate your shadow into your body and see those real shifts, right? So, something that I have been having a lot of conversations around in my containers with my clients is why is it that we're doing all of this inner work, we're doing all of these things, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be integrated into our day to day life? Like, why is it that we're putting in all of that, but for some reason it is not adding up to the shifts that we would like to see? So it feels like we're sort of stuck in this healing phase. And literally, like the call I just had was around that, wherein I was talking to the client and talking about how you can make these land in your body. And this is where I said most of us think that healing is just like an intellectual thing, right? So it's like I am doing all of this, so mentally I'm able to handle things properly, so that I'm able to see these shifts in my body, in my real life, in my environment. But like I said, it's not just a mental process. It's very much an experiential process. It's got to do with the way you move in your day-to-day experience. It's got with the way you do things in your life, right? So the first thing, like I said, when it comes to these little things that we indulge in, other than, and this conversation is not about, okay, go do breath work or go do meditation or do all of those things, which is part of the whole thing, but it's important for us to come to an understanding of how do we integrate this into my day-to-day self, right? So much of the healing that we do, which is also going back to the same thing, which is your mind cannot heal your mind. There has to be a point wherein you have to integrate, how is this creating shifts in my body? Like, am I still leading my life based on how my shadows are, like, responding, or am I coming from the different awareness, right? So because a lot of our day-to-day things that we do, it is usually coming from that. So it's either a reaction that one of your shadow had, it is a pattern behavior that one of your shadow had for the longest time, and now for you to be able to shift, that healing needs to be integrated into your day-to-day life, wherein you're not thinking, feeling, and being the old version of you. You're not acting from a place of letting your shadows manifest your day-to-day life. Okay, so like I said, the first thing is healing is not an intellectual process, it's an experiential process. So whatever healing that you have done, if you're stuck in just the intellectual process, you will consistently be living in that. You will consistently be like, okay, what else is there to fix? Okay, so what part in me created that? Okay, so what is the limiting belief now? So whenever you hit that wall wherein you're like, okay, I'm not seeing any shifts, your first instinctive reaction is, what else do I need to work on? And your brain loves solving problem. Your brain loves to figure things out. Your brain loves to have you set in a problem that your brain can then come and solve, right? So that is that is the first understanding that I want you to have, and realize the importance of the fact that your brain cannot heal itself, right? And another thing, this is like a cool analogy that I think so many people also step into, which is when you're constantly operating in your life like you are in a war, right? How can you have creative ideas? How can you have like things and creative process? How can you have anything to do with making your life or taking your life in the driving direction if you're constantly living like you're on war, which is what your nervous system is doing? It's constantly sensing danger. If it's constantly in survival mode, and it's constantly like, I don't know where I'm going to be shot at, I don't know where this bullet is going to come from, and you're actively living in that war zone, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to the thriving state. It's going to be very difficult for you to get creative ideas. It's going to be very difficult for things to flow into your life, because your body, your nervous system is working against you. It's constantly telling you there's a threat, and it's using up all the energy that you have into keeping you in a mode wherein you're not in threat, right? And now this seems like the very basics of nervous system regulation. It seems like very basics of those things, but it is not only in the acts that you do once a day, right? Nervous system is like, this might be a little bit of TMI, but it goes down to how are you responding to your body signals. Like when your body signals you, okay, I need to go to the bathroom, like how long are you taking that? Right? If your body is signaling that I need food, that I need water, I need these things, the more you act from a place of like, I'm no longer in the war zone, water is abundantly available, I don't have to starve myself, food is abundantly available, you're instantly giving your body the cues that, okay, fine, it's okay for me to relax. So it's not only about the nervous system regulation techniques that you do throughout the day. It's like, are you listening to your body? Are you listening to the cues that your body is giving you? Like when your body signals to you that I'm tired, are you going in taking a nap for a little bit? Are you like, I know how that sounds if you have kids running around. It's like, it's a lot, but I want you to have systems in place wherein you're also supporting yourself. You're listening to your body, you're listening to the cues that it's giving you. If it tells you that I need to drink something, you go give yourself that. If it's like I need to go to the bathroom, you go right then and there. Right? You're not waiting for all of these things to be done and then I'm going to meet my needs. Right? So nervous system regulation is like it has to be a consistent, stabilized process, not just something that you do once a day, right? Or not just something that you do when you are overwhelmed, not just something that you do when things are not going your way or you feel triggered. That's where we rely on nervous system, where we are like, okay, fine, when I'm triggered, I'm going to do that, right? But that's the thing. When your life is run by your shadows, you constantly feel like you're in survival mode. You're either trying to control your environment, you're trying to see things differently, you are constantly self-monitoring yourself, which is like people for the longest time thought that self-awareness is a skill. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree to that. But then it's also a shadow that is constantly monitoring you, right? It becomes self surveillance. It's constantly judging yourself. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, I should have reacted from this perspective now. And that shadow is like so loud sometimes, you start self criticizing so much and you think that's something beneficial, because you're like, okay, fine, I have had all of this healing, I have been doing this work for so long, I should act differently. But then you don't realize that your nervous system starts betraying you when you are ignoring these things. When you're constantly telling yourself, I shouldn't be feeling like this, you're probably denying so many things that wants to surface up. That's how I like to talk about this. It's, even when I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, this shadow work is not something that you're doing in a session with me. This shadow work is like a lifestyle. I want you to make it a habit that you're constantly, not necessarily in a bad way, but you are in the habit of understanding what's happening underneath. You're bringing these things to the surface. It's like you're understanding, okay, what's happening in the background, what is happening, what is the unknown thing that's happening that I'm bringing to the forefront. And the moment it's in the forefront and you understand, this is the shadow, this is what I have been whispering to myself, right? You have it in front of you. So it doesn't mean that it's going to take you 2 hour meditation or every day you have to work on yourself, but it's like day to day, while you're doing things, you're just becoming aware of that shadow whisper and you're like, okay, fine, I see you, I see that you're trying to tell me this, and the way you're manifesting in my body is you're giving me this tight sensation in my chest, right? You make me feel like I'm stuck in a freeze response. You make me feel like I don't want to get up and do this video, or I don't want to, do this, or I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to reply to anyone right now. I need some time for myself, which is great. But you got to ask yourself, like, who is saying that? Whose nervous system are we following right now, right? Because, like I said, your intuition can be broken if it is being run by shadows. Like if you don't know what your intuition is telling you and what your shadows are whispering, you will think that shadow whisperings are your intuition, which sort of like really prolongs your healing journey, right? I talk about this a lot in my recent post that I've made around sovereignty, wherein I'm like helping you understand the difference between your intuition and things that you gotta like actually take in your hand and be like, I'm not relying on all of that. I am dictating this to be the case, right? So going back to what I was saying, the first thing I said was healing is an experiential process. You got to integrate everything that you're doing intellectually into your day-to-day life. If it was that your life was being run by a people-pleasing shadow, a shadow that often told you that it's not safe for you to say what you want to say, then in your day-to-day life, you got to integrate that and be like, if this shadow was not running my life, right? Especially when you do this in a shadow work session, you will really understand the difference between, oh my god, that actually is not me. I don't know why I'm reacting like that. I don't believe what this shadow believes, but why is she so intertwined with my day-to-day life? Like it literally feels like she takes over and she's running my life for me, right? So you taking action outside of that, taking action from a place of, I am like, how who would I be if this shadow was not running the show for me, right? And this comes out in little ways. Like I think recently I had this wherein I was having an argument with my husband, and suddenly I had this abandonment issue come up, right? It was almost like I knew I was not wrong. I knew that what I was saying was right. Like I was not out of line, I was not disrespectful, I was not saying things hurtful, none of that. But when he sort of retreated a little bit to get some space, I had that shadow come over, which was like, what are you doing, right? You're being difficult again, and when you're difficult, people leave you. You have to be complacent. You have to like, people will not like this wild side of you. You cannot show your edges like this, right? You have to tone yourself down. And I was like, I was already toned down, right? All I did was I stood up for myself in a respectful way. There was absolutely nothing that I said hurtful. But when he retreated, that shadow took over, and that shadow told me, this is not safe, right? Like he retreated, that means he's going to leave you, right? But in reality, he just needed some space. He needed to process the things that I just told him, right? But then earlier, when I was going back to the like the earlier fights that I used to have with him, or arguments that I had with him, when we would have a difficult conversation and he would retreat, my first response would be, stop it, this is not safe, this is not okay, go apologize, like end this argument, what you want is not important, you like, he's going to leave you, you cannot be difficult. Like that would be the constant whisper. It was, you cannot be difficult, you can't be difficult. And although like the logical part of my mind was on par, it was like, but I didn't say anything hurtful, I just expressed this need, right? But because that shadow had such a strong hold on me, I would give in. I would feel like, if I'm difficult, people will leave me. It's not safe for me to express myself. I am, the more, if I express myself, I will be abandoned. Like all of these core beliefs would keep happening in the background, right? But I had to understand and call myself back and be like, this is not the truth. This is not the truth of who I am, right? This, that shadow is coming from a fear. Maybe in the past, some things happened wherein I had to comply. And I was only accepted and I was loved when I complied. Like difficult conversations were not safe, right? So when you understand what parts of your life are actually fully in your that you're taking from your decision making, and what parts are happening on an autopilot, you will see that how this plays out in your life in a beautiful manner. And it's a lifestyle. This is what I always tell my clients as well. This is not something that you're doing here and there. It's a lifestyle. It's you becoming aware of what is happening, right? In a kind and like in a kind way, wherein you're also showing yourself self compassion. You're not being hard on yourself, but you're also listening to that part of you which is constantly running the show for you, right? So that, and the next thing is understanding, is this me in a war zone, is this me in a war zone, or is this me in creative fun play, right? When you're cooking, when you're running behind your kids, when you're doing anything, when you're working or anything, if you're like, constantly, "Oh, I need to get this done. This is like, why is this not working? What do I need to do? Why are things not working for me? I feel like such a failure," and you're in this constant rush, and you're telling yourself that, you know, this is me out in the war. That you have to have that understanding. It has to clock in that, okay, fine, this is me in a war. And when you're in a war, all your body is doing is trying to keep you safe. Hi Naila, Assalamualaikum. All your body is doing. Hi Sophie, Assalamualaikum. I just saw the messages. So all you're doing is you're trying to stay alive. You're trying to cope with your environment, and that is no place for you to get into creative play. That is no place for you to get creative ideas, get ideas or solution, like the real solutions that we talk about, that are going to move the needle for you in the right direction. It's going to help your business grow. It's going to help you thrive in your marriage. It's going to help you come up with creative ways of actually solving problems with your kids, right? All of that happens when you are in that creative, fun play energy. You're not in the I'm in the middle of a war energy, which is where you often find yourself, if you're not aware of who's running the show right now, like who am I being right now. Like I said, in the middle of the fight, I was like, I am being that little girl who's afraid that she'd be abandoned if she throws a tantrum, right? And as I said, I had no idea that this shadow was uh, looming over all of my difficult conversations. Anytime I would have a difficult conversation with my dad, with my friends, with my husband, with anybody, sometimes even with my daughter, and she's just 6. And I would have that sort of, oh my god, if she's hurt by me, if we had this thing, if I confronted her with something, then she would never have that sort of connection with me. I was so afraid of losing that connection that the price of that was me losing myself, right? So as I said, who am I being right now? Am I being, okay, fine, I'm in the middle of the war energy, or is this like fun creative play? When you're in the fun creative play, that's where you get ideas. That's where you start going back to things that you love doing. You go back to watching shows you love watching, and you're very present. You're in this receiving energy, you're in this being energy of like aligning with your purpose, like what you're meant to be doing. And you will experience this so beautifully when you're out in the war energy, and then suddenly you realize, okay, fine, this is me out in the war energy. I need to ground myself, right? I need to sit with myself, understand what's happening, and then self-soothe. That's the next step that's coming up. So you do that, and then when you're in that fun playful energy, you'll get like random things here and there telling you that you're in the right direction, because that's instantly how you shift your timeline, and you're now in a reality wherein things are flowing differently, things are moving differently, right? So like I said, listening to your body's basic cues, like I said, going to the washroom, drinking water, having food, like when not getting to the point of starvation, not getting to the point of, oh my god, why am I feeling dizzy? And I would have that so often throughout the day. I would forget to feed myself, and I'd be like, oh my god, I felt dizzy, now I'll go feed myself. That's you telling your nervous system that I am at the threshold, I'm literally in the middle of the war, that I don't have food around me to feed myself. Your nervous system doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have ears. It just responds to how your body is responding to you and how your brain is responding to you. So if you're taking into consideration that this is a living organism, like you're a living organism, you live so much of your life like this is you, this brain is you. Of course, we know that we're not our brain, soul, or our body, like we are the whole thing. But it's like we don't consider that this is also attached to our body. It is part of our body, right? Which is why when we are trying to heal so much, but we still have so much chronic diseases, we have so many chronic pains, we have so many issues that happen in our body, and we're like, I don't know why that happened. It's like you've never really integrated that part of the picture. You're not letting your shadow work integrate into your body, integrate into the changes that you actually want to create in your life, right? So, like I said, listen to your body's basic cues. Going to the washroom, drinking water, food. Suddenly, if you're like extremely tired, like meet your needs there, right? Whoever that you're living with, whether it's your husband, your partner, or it's your parents, or it's your siblings, you tell them that when I feel this way, can you just cover for me? Right? And you actually meet your needs over there. Have systems and boundaries in place so that you're also able to meet your needs in those areas. Okay. The second last thing is self-soothing. This goes so long way. Um, so I don't mean for you to do this only when you're triggered, because of course we know that when we are triggered, we've got to like heal our nervous system and we got to meet all of those things. But this is something I want you to do every day. This is something that I encourage my clients to do. And even when I am every day morning, I open this, I have this whole playlist on YouTube, or have like a checklist on my notes app wherein I have things that I do to self soothe, even if there is nothing, there's no trigger. It's regularly telling my nervous system that I am safe, I'm not in a war zone, I'm in my fun playful energy, right? And as I said, it doesn't have to look a certain way, especially because I feel with how the media works, they have made us believe that if you want to heal your nervous system, you need an ice cold shower, or you need ice baths, or you need like breath works and things like that. But the way a woman's nervous system works, or the way we release oxytocin, is not through pushing ourselves in those ways. It's like, even that for us is very instinctive. It's very much listening to your body. It's like, so as I said, in that toolbox I have all of those things. It could, some days it's just somatic movements, some days it is yin yoga, some days it's walking, some days it's uh, dance workout, right? So like I said, it's power walking. So it's every day it's something else. So I open my toolbox, that self-soothe box, and it's like, what do I want to do right now? So I'm never forcing myself to dip my head in an ice bath, or take a cold shower, or force myself to go on walks when I don't have the energy for it. It's like I open my self-soothe box or the checklist or the playlist, and I'm like, what do I want right now? Some days it's a meditation. Some days it's just somatic movements. Some days it's deep yen stretches. Some days it's power walking. So different days it's something else, but it's every day morning I'm telling my nervous system that I'm safe. Like things are okay. Everything is fine. We don't have to feel like we're in the middle of a war, right? So it's dealing, like understanding yourself and listening to your body, integrating your body not only when you're in the middle of a trigger, but in your day-to-day life. It's like your baseline. You got to bring your nervous system to a point of like, um, a point of balance, a point of stability, predictability for your system. It's like how you're like when your kids, um okay, now I feel like my kids are very much into their routine. But when my son was like 2 3 and I was like trying to get him, and because they go through so many cycles, sleep regressions and everything, I had to have like a very tight routine, which they still follow. It's like ingrained in them now, right? The sleeping time, the eating time. And it's like, the more predictable you make a kid's day, is how much more stable and understanding and learnable and coachable your kids become, right? That's the same thing with your nervous system. The more you consistently make it feel like nothing is wrong. You see this even in the way you go to the bathroom. Like, are you like holding it in as long as you can and then you go to the washroom? Or even in when you are relieving yourself, are you like doing it as fast as you can to get back to things? All of those things are signaling to your nervous system that you're not safe, that you're in the middle of a war zone, that you have to pee as soon as you can and you have to run away from there. It's not safe for you to, because what if you're peeing and someone shoots, right? So it's very literal. Like it doesn't have eyes and ears to know that you're safe in a safe home and your things are okay. No one's shooting at you. There's no lion running towards you. But as I said, it only responds to how you're treating yourself, right? So self-soothe box, daily movement. Okay. And as I said, it doesn't have to be something you're forcing yourself. As I said, have like a list of things that you can indulge in. What's something I want to be doing? What is something that is really feel like I'm feeling right now? Right. And then it's finding things, like scheduling things in your week that you know for like 100% is going to give you an oxytocin release, right? So for some of you, this might feel so foreign because you're so not used to doing things for yourself. Like when I do this, like I have, like some of my clients are doctors, they are high performing CEOs, they are having 9 to 5 jobs and businesses, so they have very busy life, and for them everything becomes a very repetitive routine thing, and they don't have a time to add something else into their schedule, right? But if you go back and ask yourself, what are the things that I actually enjoyed growing up? What are the things I love doing? For me, it was spending time with my friends. So the more I schedule in time wherein I am spending time with my friends, I used to be very, like, I am very creative. So I schedule in an hour in a week wherein I am sitting down with my kids and we paint, or playing board games, right? So I do that with my husband and kids now. Or it was, like I said, meeting my friends. It was watching movies. I loved watching deep psychological thrillers and, dissect its plot and discuss that with friends. Or it was reading fantasy, reading sometimes random adventure books. Like all of these things were things I loved doing when I had a lot of time, and those gave me that boost, those gave me that oxytocin release that I genuinely wanted, right? So the more you listen to yourself and schedule in things that you love doing, now those things have evolved into me taking a pottery class once a week, or me going for aerial yoga, or me trying out new cafes or new foods, or me watching a movie with my husband. Those things have evolved definitely, but you are meeting those needs of yours, right? And the more, that's again, I said, it's a very ancient thing. Your nervous system is a very ancient thing. It's wired based on how your mother and her mother dealt with life. So the more you consistently integrate these things and create those shifts in your life, that's how you integrate your shadow work into your day-to-day life. And then turn shadow work basically is bringing something which was subconscious, which was um, unconsciously that you were doing, into surface, right? So it is very much a lifestyle. Even while I'm recording this, and I have things come up and I'm like thinking about, is the voice okay? Is this even like something that people are able to get? Is this not the right time to go live? My kids are going to come in 30 minutes. Will I have enough time for the recordings, that other recordings that I had to do? So the mind keeps running. And I know, like, I know this shadow so well, because this shadow often tells me that you have to do things perfectly, right? Are you missing something? Are you missing something? It's like that annoying self-surveillance uh, dictator. That's how the shadow usually comes, and she's constantly telling me, you're not doing it right, you're not doing it perfectly, do it this way. If you miss anything here and there, like if you're not absolutely perfect, if you're not spectacular, then there is no result. Like you can't show up messy with her. It's like a perfectionist thing as well with her, right? So I know her, and I don't shame myself for all of that. I talk to her and I'm like, okay, fine, it's gonna be fine. Like everything is fine. There's nothing to be afraid of. Like I said, sometimes these shadows will stay with you as long until and unless they don't trust that you can take care of yourself. And the moment that they get that, okay, fine, she's going to take care of herself, they actually go away. You actually integrate them with my clients, because they are in the session with me for 60 to 90 minutes. We integrate these shadows very fast, or we at least fast track that process to the point wherein they're like, I don't hear that shadow as well. Like they manifest things within hours of them integrating that shadow, because sometimes your manifestations were held back just by that shadow because she thought it's not okay for you, right? Especially when we do these things around success, and if you had a shadow which was like, if you're successful, then people are going to be uncomfortable. If you're successful, then people are going to make you feel like you didn't deserve this. What have you done to deserve this? Or they're going to question, or they're going to dissect your success and take it away from you. Then that shadow will keep it at bay. But the more you integrate that shadow into your day-to-day practice, that shadow is going to realize that that's not the case. It might have happened in the past, but doesn't have to now, because she's choosing differently. She's leading from a different identity. So I don't have to be playing the same role that I did with her a few days ago, right? Or maybe it's been around for years now, right? So you see shifts in your life as fast as like hours, because I have seen that sometimes when we integrate clients who are dealing with a lot of shame, and they'll be like, Asha, I had that session with you, I took a nap, I woke up and I had someone inquiring about my offer, and I had this like 2 days ago. I did some deep shadow work around receiving, because I had this block around receiving, around compliance, and I integrated that shadow. She felt safe that it's okay, it was okay for her, like I was sort of open. I could feel it in my body that I was open now to receiving this, and I woke up to two inquiries in the same day. And it was like, I'm telling you, it you can dismiss these things, but when your life starts changing because of the work that you're doing, you will there's no denying it now. There is no denying it. So am I saying that, like I said, it doesn't have to be like you have to work on yourself, but if you're making it a lifestyle wherein you're bringing things that are unconscious back into the forefront, what am I telling myself, how am I protecting myself from this, and you train yourself differently, you will see those shifts in your life, right? And that is how you integrate all of this shadow work, all of the work that you're doing on yourself into your day-to-day life. Making shadow work the lifestyle, becoming aware of these things, shifting, moving, opening your channels for reception, right? And as I said, foundation of it all is identity. Your nervous system, your intuition, all of those things are coming from your identity, which is all part of the 3D experience. So if the more you're coming from a grounded, already successful, already thriving in her life identity, your nervous system will automatically start healing itself, because you're not coming from the same old identity. Your intuition will get clearer and sharper the more you are coming from the right identity. Like, the whole reason that I created a whole program on sovereignty was because for you to understand that there is no need for you to outsource your power to intuition or outsource it to your nervous system. It's like, what are you commanding in the moment? So the identity shift happens first, your nervous system follows, then the intuition follows, the ideas follows, and then it comes to action. People usually, no matter how much they've healed, the first thing that they go to is the action. What do I need to do to then become this person? And we know forever, like all the understanding that we've had around identity shifting is you firstly become that person. But to become that person, you're either seeking evidence that, okay, am I that person now? Am I that person now? Like, is this what it means? Is this what it feels like to be in the identity? You are still outsourcing your power. Wherein if you come from sovereignty and you're like, okay, fine, what am I telling myself? What am I making this mean? What am I deciding that gets to feel like? What am I deciding it gets to be? That's when you're coming from complete sovereignty. You're coming from complete power and conviction, which is what is probably the most strongest thing that makes you the most magnetic to money, to success, to opportunities, when you're coming from that decisiveness, coming from that conviction, which is what we're doing in my program Sovereignty. If you want details around that, it's please send me a DM. If you're like, I want to try this out and do it on my own, then I have Money Vortex. It's a program entirely to help you do shadow work around your business, around your success. And it's probably the fastest way for you to do identity shifting, to step into that fully wild success of your business version of yourself. And I have other resources. And if you have any question or you just want to like talk about what is happening and everything, just send me a DM. And I hope this was helpful.